Number 355, proposal to modify the flood defence seawall on James Larkin Road, Dublin 3, between Mount Prospect Avenue and Watermill Road. Can I have a proposer and seconder to open up the report for debate? Councillor Cuff and Councillor Flynn.
Councillor O'Murray, Councillor O'Moore, Councillor Lyons. Councillor O'Murray.
Yeah, apologies, my voice is a bit gone. I'm confused by this report, Lord Mayor, having just, having read it in the run-up to this meeting. There was a negotiated agreement. This is a very fractious issue. There was a negotiated agreement carried out over a number of months and years recently, starting off in 2015, late 2015, to come to an agreement on this wall and the project. And it's not clear for me now what the report is saying. The report seems to be saying that the manager is proposing not to proceed with the height reduction, but only to proceed with, finishing the cladding. Yet I have two resolutions in front of me, which I presume came from the executive, saying resolution number 1 effectively says go ahead with the cladding, and resolution number 2 says go ahead with proceeding with the reduction in the height of the sea wall. So it's a point of clarification and order, just to be clear first of all, where we stand, and I'd like to come back in once I hear the manager's view, because it's a very important issue for the locality. I appreciate we spent a lot of time on this issue, by the way. Thank you.
Okay, well, just for clarity, when I saw the report, I shared your confusion as to what exactly was being recommended. So I asked that the management clarify that, and this was the means of clarifying how we would actually deal with the issue. So if the CEO wants to come in on that or to explain.
I accept, and I apologise for the fact that the resolution of the report is unhelpful. It's very clear there are two aspects to this. There is the proposal to clad part of the wall, and there's a proposal to reduce the height of the wall over a certain section. Now, I accept, and I've explained in the report, that that was what emerged following a process. I'm just making it clear that I cannot recommend that we spend money that will reduce the resilience of this wall, but I fully accept that it's a matter for the members, and if the members decide to go ahead and reduce the height, so be it, we will implement it. But I find it very difficult to recommend something that will reduce the degree of tidal surge protection from a 1 in 200 year event to a 1 in 100 year event. And that would be inconsistent with national policy on tidal flood measures. So I've set that out. At the same time, I accept it's a matter for the elected members, and if you pass the two resolutions, we'll proceed and do both of those.
Sir, can I have a point of order, please, Lord Mayor?
Point of order, Councillor.
It's just that my understanding is that in the formal procedures, before any project is presented to Council, a report should be made to the local area committee, informing them of the intention to present the proposal to the City Council and advising them that the process for approval of a Part 8 is a reserved function of the City Council. Like, we shouldn't really be here having clarifications. Local area people shouldn't be having, it should be at the local area committee, and I don't think it has. And if it hasn't, we can't take it tonight because that's in the formal procedure. I'm reading out the formal the formal procedures. I'll read it out again if you like.
No, I think we heard it the first time, Damien.
My understanding is there's a window of opportunity to do this, and that we need to make a decision fairly quickly. Otherwise, we may lose. There's a certain part of the season where we can do this work.
That's May. Sorry, May. It's going to be done in May. I understand from the manager.
Sorry, Councillor, you weren't called.
But we'd have to go out to tender, etc. So if we don't get approval pretty quickly, that may have been the reason why it wasn't brought. I mean, this is a modification to a scheme. That's maybe, I suspect, why it came here directly.
Okay, I'm going to revert to Councillor O'Murray because he was asking a question of clarification which needed to be clarified. So I'll allow you to proceed, and then we'll go through the list of speakers.
Okay. Just listening to what's being said, Ordvera, as long as this proposal reflects what was agreed through a very difficult process involving Dublin City Council officials, involving local representatives and ourselves, as long as the manager gives us that commitment that that's what this reflects, and I'm happy to support it, and just to be done with the issue for once and for all. On that basis, I'm happy to support the two resolutions. To Councillor O'Farrell's point, I think we were notified at area committee stage. I think the requirement is to notify that it's coming, that we're starting, that it's happening, rather than bring the detailed report of the process back to the area committee. But I'll stand to be corrected by the law agent or somebody on that front. As I understand it, that's the requirement. So, subject to the manager confirming that this delivers what was agreed with the local communities, I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Lord Mayor.
Councillor Moore is next. Are you indicating to speak, Councillor Heaney? Yeah, I have you on the list. Yeah, Councillor Moore. Yeah,
Guramagat. This, I think, is an attempt to confuse us by bringing the two resolutions. Initially, was agreed by a long, very long and hard process, including DCC that are involved in it, the EMLC. And eventually we came to a conclusion, along with all the experts DCC brought in, that we could reduce the wall with this height. The wall been reduced by this height. It's a relatively small section compared to the whole lot. It's an area that has never flooded from Mount Prospect Avenue to Watermill Road. There's never been flooding on that, with the exception of flooding coming out of the park. Now, regards to the 200-year floods that may come about, it's not acceptable that it was totally agreed, and was agreed by the previous manager at one of the EMLC meetings, Mr. Wallace, that we could do it and it would be acceptable. So therefore I propose that we go ahead with Part 8 and accept it.
Okay, but just to say, Councillor, the resolutions are there to actually clarify the situation, because particularly to councillors unfamiliar with it, it was actually unclear from the report how exactly we would vote on it, or how we would deal with the report. So it was simply for clarification. Councillor Lyons.
Thanks, Ardvarna. Yeah, like, we were notified of this at our area committee back in April of this year, that Part 8 was going to commence. But this is the first time that I've actually seen this report, and it is committing us potentially, if we did pass the two resolutions contained within the report, to spending over, well, just about €500,000. So I would prefer if this was brought back to our North Central Area Committee firstly, because there are certain questions we need to ask in terms of €300,000 for cladding and copping. I'd like to interrogate that amount of money. I know at the time, because this did cause a lot of controversy, there were proposals in terms of the aesthetic aspect of the flood defence, and it seems as if we're now coming back looking to spend over $250,000 on cladding, and I'd like to explore other options in terms of that. I know it's coming from the development levies, but in terms of the actual process, I would be more comfortable, rather than passing this now, if it went back to our area committee so we could ask a few questions and then have it back at the full meeting in January of next year. Thanks, Edward.
Councillor O'Farrell.
Just to take up on Councillor Murray's point, we had an EMLC, an Environmental Monitoring and Liaison Group, and we had an independent chairperson. That was a planning condition that previously hadn't been complied with by DCC. So we had an independent chairperson, and I was speaking to him tonight, and it was agreed between DCC and the community at the EMLC meetings that the reduction in the wall height, as agreed at the EMLC, that's the council Murray was making, what was agreed at the EMLC, and that takes into account all measurements, and that would be recommended by DCC for approval by the council, and that doesn't seem to be happening tonight. And I think I'm correct on this bit, that it hasn't been before the council. There was mention of it back in April, but according to these, the rule I'm looking at is after it goes out to public consultation, and after that. It says before the project is presented to council, which is happening today, a report should be made to the local area committee informing them of the intention to. I think we need to, with Part 8s, when we have process, we need to stick to them, because in my opinion we don't always stick to them, and then we have trouble. And I think we need to stick to them. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, can I make a suggestion? Does the timeline allow for? I know we have a clock ticking now. Once again on a Part 8. Does the December Area Committee allow, within the December and the January City Council meeting, allow for this to be dealt with?
Maybe I might be Lord Mayor, I may be helpful, or attempt to be helpful in relation to this. What is proposed here in the Part 8, the actual works, both the reduction in the height of the wall and the cladding, is what has emerged from community consultation over the last number of months. So this is the result of, or this Part 8 is the result of that consultation, and everything contained therein is in accordance with the agreement with the local group. I suppose what you have here now before you this evening is a proposal that requires the elected members to decide whether we proceed with this or not. The manager, or the chief executive, has explained that it would be impossible for us to recommend moving along in this direction, having regard to the fact that it isn't, the reduction in the height of the wall doesn't comply with the national standard. But it is open to the members to pass the Part 8 in order for these works to proceed, or not, depending on the way the members judge the situation. But what appears in the Part 8 is exactly what was agreed with the local residents and the local community.
Okay, Councillor O'Brien.
Yeah, we have a bit unusual situation here where we're presented with two resolutions, the first of which is entirely consistent with the report that accompanies this section in terms of the cladding. And Resolution 2 was effectively a resolution that is contrary to the recommendation of the Chief Executive. Now, I'm open-minded about when we actually finalise this, whether we do it now or whether we do it in January, but just from my own point of view, like, things have happened since this debate began from the point of view of extreme weather events and the rest of it. And I find it hard to justify to, I'd say, most of my constituents the spending of €230,000 to shave 30 centimetres off a stretch of wall so that when you're driving southbound that you have a slightly better view of the Bull Island than is previously the case. And then the possibility then that in 50 years' time we put the 30 centimetres back up again, God knows how much that would cost in order to keep obviously a segment of the local population who've been emailing us happy. And the question was posed at the group leaders meeting earlier on, that if we had the 1 in 100 year flooding event in the course of the next 50 years instead of the 1 in 200 year event, and the place was flooded, requiring obviously an expenditure on the part of the city to try and deal with that, you know, would there be a liability on us councillors for having agreed to shaving off 30 centimetres and increasing the risk of flooding, you know, in years to come? And I would like an opinion from the legal officer on that question. But otherwise, I would find it hard to justify such an expenditure, and I am inclined to leave it at the height that it is.
Councillor Heaney.
Gurv Mahagat Ardver. Can I just get some clarification on what is being proposed? Firstly, I think Councillor O'Farrell is asking that this matter not be decided upon this evening because it wasn't presented to us at the local area committee. And the manager's response to Councillor O'Farrell's I suppose point is that perhaps the reason that this matter was not presented to us at the local area committee is because there is a window of opportunity sometime in May to carry out the works to reduce the height of the wall, as is in the manager's report. And if we don't agree this here this evening, there's a possibility that any delay or any lengthy delay may result in no reduction being agreed, and then the time or the window of opportunity passing, and that's what the manager is saying. That's the reason the manager is giving for asking us to take a decision on this. And can I ask further, Lord Mayor, is the resolution numbers 1 and 2, are they written by the city manager in, I suppose, ease of ourselves to make it kind of clearer what we're actually voting on, that we can vote on the cladding and vote on the height separately? Thanks, Lord Mayor. Can you clarify what I just asked there? Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Just could the manager come in, and could the CEO or the manager come in and clarify that, please?
There's probably two aspects in relation to bringing the proposal here. One, I suppose, is the expectation of the local people that we would move quickly in relation to the agreement that we've had with them. So, in other words, the process that we were engaged in with the committee that was set up in relation to this, the expectation would be that we would move to bring a Part 8 to the full council as fast as humanly possible, and that's, I suppose, what we were doing. Again, that would be in accordance with what we had agreed with the residents. In relation to the manner in which the motions are placed here this evening, I think the Lord Mayor has already explained the situation in relation to why the motions were put, and it would have been after so it's his intervention earlier on to have a clarity around what it was that was being voted on by the members this evening.
Point of order. Just I might have a solution to this. If we could suspend standing orders maybe for 3 minutes, because the local area members haven't had a chance to discuss this. We would discuss it for a few minutes. We'll have an idea of what way the vote is going, and then we could have, if they decide, then we can come in and we'll have a vote, or else it'll be deferred. We'll decide. The local area in 3 or 4 minutes. We'll decide.
Sorry.
Would that not be?
Actually, no. What I was going to propose, there is a proposal before the council, which has, I think, by Councillor Lyons, which would need a seconder, that this be referred back to the area committee. Is there a seconder for that? A seconder. We have a seconder, Councillor O'Toole. If we vote on that and agree to refer to the area committee.
Lord Mayor, can we just be clear? Apologies, a point of order, Ardver. Can we be clear that if we do that, we don't lose this proposal? We're not at risk of losing this proposal, because we've heard time and time again that the clock ticks for 6 weeks on a Part 8, and it has been presented to us. So we need to be very clear in terms of the timelines for the area committee in December and the City Council meeting in January, whether this is, whether this is in order or not, for those 6 weeks. So I'd like to hear that, because that's very germane to this decision. Thank you.
Just having the dates checked behind, but you are correct that we have to decide within the 6 week period.
Okay, well, that's been checked. Councillor Moore, is it a point of order?
Sorry, there was a commitment that this would be brought here for the last 2 council meetings. Now, we were told there's engineering problems, there's this problem, there's that problem. It was supposed to be here at the September meeting. Now, we have actually agreed at the local area committee, the EMLC committee, everything has been agreed. So why delay it? Guramagat.
Well, I'm seeking clarification. I'm conscious of time here. If the meeting votes to refer to the area committee, then it should be referred to the area committee and we proceed to the next business.
Councillors, I'm informed by the law agent that the Part 8 to be valid would have to be adopted 6 weeks from today. So January meeting's the 8th.
So just to be absolutely clear, are we saying that it would still be within the time period and valid for it to be referred to the area committee and to come back here for the January City Council meeting?
Sorry, there is a December meeting, so we could place it. On the North Central area.
Could I propose that we suspend standing orders, Lord Mayor? Just so the local area, and we could sort it out.
See no purpose in that.
We could sort it out today. We could sort it out today.
But there's a proposal here to refer it. Are you supporting that proposal to refer it to the area committee?
In the interests of the people, I just want to know the result of the vote before we vote. That's. So we discuss. So the local area councillors will.
And all the times I've chaired meetings, that's the best I've ever heard. Very helpful.
Yeah. And that's why I'd like to discuss it with the local area reps. We'll see what way the different parties are going. As far as I know, Sinn Féin are in favour, so are Fianna Fáil, so are some of the independents. I'd like to see what way Labour and Independent...
He wants to have a meeting of the...
I want to have a meeting of the local area committee for 5 minutes, and we'll come in and we'll vote.
Lord.
Sorry, Councillor O'Toole, point of order.
O'Farrell, it's a Part 8, so the whole council have to vote on it. Members of the area committee going out and voting on it won't have any effect whatsoever. The whole council have to vote on it, as far as I know.
Okay, there's a motion down that this be referred to the area committee. It's been proposed by Councillor Lyons, seconded by Councillor O'Toole. I will take a vote on that now. Is it agreed?